Well, hello, Noir Nation. Today is Wednesday, so you know what that means. A new episode of the Melanin Mayhem podcast, hosted by your favorite country girl, Renee Davis. If you're new to the crew, let me run it down for you. Melanin Mayhem's sole purpose in life is to spotlight prolific criminal masterminds that did some audacious, heinous, and downright diabolical shit but was skipped over by the mainstream media. The country girl is single handedly dispelling the myth that there are crimes that black people just don't commit. Because we do everything, honey. Everything. We been doing it, and we still doing it. Just ask my homies, the ones that's down like four flats on a Cadillac. The peanut butter to my jelly. The fabulous members of the Noir Nation. What's cracking, home skillet? A week is just so long, ain't it? But that's okay, because you're here and I'm here and we about to do what we do. So let's get into it. But first, can we just do our dance a little bit? Because the love that y'all got for me is actually quantifiable, baby. Thank you, Noir Nation and friends, for this latest milestone for the podcast. We hit 100,000 lifetime plays last week. We haven't even made it to a year yet. Baby, from my hair follicles to the soles of my feet, I appreciate y'all so much. Ooh, I love y'all real bad. And honey, next week we'll be celebrating episode 50. Yes, honey. That's amazing, fam. And again, I could not have done any of this without y'all rocking with the country girl the way y'all do. The love is so real, baby. Well, this week we're going back to Cali. We're going back to Cali. Yeah, I think so. That was a good one, right? It made you think about LL Cool J fine as frog hair ass. That's a little eye candy before I fuck up the church's money with this week's shenanigans. In the previous 48 episodes, we've rolled through Cali a few times, and specifically LA more than a few times. Honey, all I know is LA was full of degenerate serial criminals, and they were out here criming it up in the same areas for the most part. Y'all know where that's at, right? The hoods of LA. South Central, they was beating y'all up bad. This week keeps that stat alive because I got yet another story of a supposedly regular ass dude that everybody liked and everybody knew that was out here fucking the ladies up. And not just any of the ladies, but truly the most vulnerable amongst our tribe. The ones that smoke a little bit and drink a little bit and get that thing up a little bit for some smoke or some drink. Them. This nigga this week was good at what the fuck he did. And while I have a list of victims, as usual, this is only the tip of the iceberg. This motherfucker was a killing machine, and the LAPD didn't give two shits about his victims, so he was able to do what he did for 25 plus years. Yes! And it would be DNA that yoked that ass up, but not in the way that you might think. So without further ado, bringing to the front of the congregation, this week's Melanin Mayhem maker is Mr. Lonnie David Franklin Jr., aka the Strawberry Killer, aka the Grim Sleeper. Lonnie David Franklin Jr. was born August 30th, 1952, in South Central LA. We don't know a lot about his parents other that he had them, and since he was a junior, his daddy had to be Lonnie David Franklin Sr. And we do know that the family was a unit. They were all together, and his mom and his dad raised Lonnie in a two-parent household in a home that they owned in South Central on 81st and Western Avenue. Now, his daddy taught Lonnie how to drive when he was around 5 years old. And that's about right for a proud black father to a son in the late 50s. And from that point on, Lonnie was a car enthusiast. He found out that he was good with them hands with them cars, too. Oh, Lonnie found his profession early in life, the neighborhood mechanic. He was friendly, charming, everybody knew him. He was just a regular ass nigga in the hood. And of course, as such, he had a few run ins with the law, starting around 16 years old or so. Nothing really serious like that, but he just always seemed to be in possession of some shit that wasn't his. You know, cars and shit. Couple of burglary charges or whatnot. But Senior Franklin, Daddy Franklin, oh, he was like, you will not be doing this street shit. So he tried to scare him straight by making him go into the military. The next thing you know, Lonnie Jr. is in the army. His next stop was Stuttgart, Germany, in the army as a cook for his unit, right? Okay, so maybe Senior was right and the army gonna get Junior together. Probably not. Cause one night, Lonnie and a couple of other soldiers, they go off base trying to go blow off a little steam or something. They come up on a 17-year-old girl and they make her go with them at knife point. These low-down scallywags took turns gang raping this child. The only reason they didn't off her ass is because she started playing up to Lonnie, acting like she liked him. Honey, she deserved an Academy Award because he believed her. She gave him her phone number and told him that if he wanted to have another good time, to get at her. Of course, as soon as she got back to civilization, she told her parents what had happened and they brought in the authorities. Honey, don't you know the very next day, this slimy ass nigga called her and she set up a meet. And Lonnie punk ass fell for it hook, line, and sinker. He pulling up thinking it's about to be some love you be long time. Instead, it was the po-po. Germany did not play with that ass either. Kidnap, rape, and attempted kidnapping is what they hit him with. But he only got 3 years. And he only did a little of that time. I don't know exactly how much of that time he did, but the army dishonorably discharged him and then sent him back home to South Central in May of 1976. So Lonnie goes back to the family home and becomes a fixture of the neighborhood, the friendly mechanic that'll shoot the shit with you or whatnot, and frankly got down to the business of creating his own family. He married this woman named Sylvia, and they popped out 2 children, a boy and a girl, a salt and pepper set, and that's like textbook, regular American nuclear family, right? Lonnie bounced around through a few jobs before settling down as a mechanic for the LAPD. But even though he loved cars, a nigga that frequently dabbles on the wrong side of the law can't be working for the law. But he was like, shit, working for the city got them good benefits. So instead of just leaving like that, he bounces from LAPD over to the sanitation department in 1982. So now Lonnie is the trash man. Nothing wrong with that. Is a perfectly respectable profession. He was gainfully employed, married with children. Wait a minute, now. This nigga don't sound like a mayhem maker. Hmm. Patience, grasshopper. The country girl is about to put you on to what else Lonnie had going on. Now, working as a trash man, Lonnie was all over the city, right? Every street, in every alley, he became very familiar with because it was his job to ride up and down them motherfuckers, right? I just need you to remember that as I get into the story because, again, it was a part of his job to know the layout of the city. And while he was married the entire time, at some point, Mrs. Franklin decided to move out. She would drop by, but for all intents and purposes, Sister Franklin didn't have shit to do with her husband. It was probably because Lonnie liked the women's, and he didn't give two shit about them vows. It's women that were willing to do anything he wanted them to do, and they would let him do whatever he wanted to do to them. And Lonnie liked taking pictures of women doing all kinds of shit. I mean, from just innocently posing to busting that thing open. Throwing it right in a circle. Okay. He was also a fucking perv. He liked to use objects to penetrate women and take pictures of that shit. And then this nasty old man and his friends would sit around showing each other all their little nasty pictures, trying to see who had the best catalog. Oh, trifling ass. Ugh, whatever. That's enough backstory on our mayhem maker. Now let me set the scene for you. LA in the 80s, it was rough in the hood, man. Y'all seen it. The crack epidemic was in full swing and it decimated entire families. But y'all already knew that, right? Just like we talked about in the opening, starting in the 70s going forward, there were several serial killers out there in LA just fucking up all mannerisms of people, and the perpetrators were both black and white. On the melanated side, we have the serials that like to kill the old ladies, the elder buns, the random white people, and of course their favorite prey, the black woman that smoked a little crack and sold a little kitty. And there was so many of the latter. It really don't make no sense. Like just doing this research and understanding that there were hundreds on hundreds on hundreds of black women that lost their lives, and the police in most cases didn't care. But they also couldn't pinpoint which serial killer did what. And as quiet as it ain't kept, they didn't fucking care. And I'm not going to say that they weren't doing their job at all. What I am saying is that for every 500, maybe five got some actual factual police work, right? And those five didn't live anywhere near the hood. You better believe it was not even hood adjacent. Now, while I have complete and utter disdain for these cops during that time period, there is a part of me that gives the smallest amount of grace because I understand that their jobs were difficult at best. Y'all know the prevailing creed in the hood is don't snitch, and the peoples don't talk to the popo. So I get it that investigating a crime in areas where citizens won't give you the time of day can make for a cynical, half-ass police force, right? But at the same goddamn time, it's your motherfucking job. Find a way, make a way, do that shit. Period. And they didn't, and it was hella obvious. The victims that I'm about to tell you about from this particular serial killer, our mayhem maker, do y'all know the police didn't even tell the families that their loved ones were killed by a serial killer? No, they just advised them of their death and left the shit like that. Like, understand the cops knew that there were several serial killers on the loose. And with this particular one, they kept that shit in house. So the citizens of South Central, the working girls of South Central, the women that were walking around at night without a care in the world, had no idea that a motherfucker was riding around and getting them. Show me you don't give a fat rat's ass about this particular community. I mean, don't tell they ass shit. Let them just be picked off one by one. That's some stinking, low-down, trifling police motherfuckers right there. Now, in the course of their secret investigations, they would attribute a set of killations to one serial killer, and then they would find out that a victim or two really didn't belong with this particular killer. So it was like a puzzle where the pieces could fit in too many different places. So again, I get it. They had a hard job. It was like trying to thread a needle in a tornado. But that's what the fuck you signed up for. You don't get no participation points for just showing up. But in all these moving victim profiles, there was one set of killings that was different from the rest of the murderations. The MO was hella specific. These women were shot with a 25 caliber gun, and then they were just dumped in random alleyways and garbage cans in a small area in South Central. The victims were all black women in beautiful hues of chocolate. And while I can now run it down for you all of their names, when they were found, they were mostly Jane Does. And nobody, I mean no fucking body, gave two shits about them. Like Noir Nation for real. Normally, when I am researching these crimes, I can look it up not only by the perpetrator's name, but I can also search by the victim's names and find out more information, right? I can tell what happened when they died, what type of investigation was done, all of that stuff, either television or print news or both. But in the cases of these women here, not one motherfucking word was spoken. Not one article written. It was like not only did they not make the news, they were treated as if they didn't even exist. And that's heartbreaking because these women were somebody's child. People love them somewhere. Mothers, daughters, aunties, cousins. I mean, it's a sin and a shame for God for how they did these women. But I guess it is what it is. It all started with 21-year-old Laura Moore. Laura was at the bus stop in the spring of 1984. A man came up on her and told her that she shouldn't be out by herself because bad guys would get her. And then he offered to take her where she was going. And in the 80s, that shit happened all the time. So Laura took this nice man that seemed to be so concerned about her safety up on his offer for a ride. And as they drove off, the man told her put on her seatbelt. And Laura was like, I'm good. And the nice man was like insistent that she buckle up for safety. And Laura kept refusing. The next thing Laura knew, the dude had reached around her and up under her seat. When he came up, he had a gun in his hand and he shot her 6 motherfucking times. Now, Laura somehow managed to get out of that car. She's fucked up now, make no mistake, but that fight or flight shit, it's real. And Lil Sis was in full flight mode. She got a real good look at her attacker. She would never forget his face. You think the police found the man that pumped 6 slugs in her ass? Nope. But Laura would be the last one that crossed paths with this nigga that would walk away and live to tell the tale. Kind of like 21-year-old Sharon Alicia Dismute, she was found January 15th, 1984. Then, the police, making it look like they're doing something, in January of 1985, they formed a task force specifically to hunt down serial killers. They were not an elite unit because they didn't find shit. And, while the police were otherwise occupied, there were people in the hood that knew that something was wrong and that these women were dying and that there needed to be some type of awareness about this in the hood, right? And this one lady named Margaret Prescott, she founded this group called the Black Coalition Fighting Black Serial Murderers. It was around 1985 in February, right? Now, it didn't have a catchy name or an acronym that you could remember, but she was out here trying to do the Lord's work, the work that the police wasn't doing, which was get out the word. Much like this podcast, that Black women were under attack and somebody was using their hood as their hunting ground. She passed out flyers. She went door to door, just trying to get the word out that somebody was out here killing the strawberries. You see, that's what they called the working girls in LA for some reason. I just found that out. They called them strawberry. Okay, well, somebody was out here killing the strawberries and they wanted the people to know about it. But nobody really paid no attention to it. That word didn't spread because, again, we're talking about crackheads. And the prevailing thought was, well, they shouldn't be out there no way. Damn, just cold. Cold, cold. Ooh. And you know what? Trying to get the word out, it wasn't enough because it didn't stop 29-year-old Deborah Jackson from being sent to go see the king. She was found August 10th, 1985, shot 3 times in the chest, dumped in an alley over by West Gage Avenue in the Slauson area. And then there was Henrietta Wright. She also found full of 25 caliber bullets under a mattress in an alley on West Vernon Avenue on August 12th, 1986. Now they think that Henrietta was killed somewhere else and then dumped in that alley. Then this is kind of an oddity. 36-year-old Thomas Sylvester Steele was found dead on August 14th, 1986, a couple of days after Henrietta. Now, I'm sure you probably thinking, which one of these is not like the others? What the prevailing story was at the time is that Thomas got because Henrietta was his people and he confronted Lonnie about killing Henrietta and then Lonnie sent his ass to the upper room for his trouble. Now, they ain't got no proof on it, but they do think strongly that that same bullet that was in Thomas came from Lonnie's gun. Next up was 25-year-old Barbara Bethune-Ware. She was found on January 10th, 1987 on East 56th Street. Now, somebody called 911 and they told them that they saw a man in a van dump a body in an alley. This is Barbara Ware. This man on the phone with 911 gave a complete description of the van, including the motherfucking tag number. Now, do you think that they did anything with that information? Well, they did a little bit. I mean, the littlest of little bit. They ran down the van. And guess what? It was parked in a church parking lot about 4 miles from where Barbara was dumped. Guess whose church it was? Lonnie's wife. The police decided that since it was parked at a church, somebody must have stolen the van. So they didn't bother to ask any questions at the church or process the van. Like, ain't that just basic police 101? You got a description of a van that somebody was tossed out of it. You found the body that the person says was tossed out of it. You got a fucking tag number, and we ain't gonna do nothing with it? Oh, that's right, because it's just random, cracked out black women who are the victims. But imagine, just imagine for just a minute, I had told you about 4 white women. Baby, we would have known this motherfucker's social security number and his blood type by now. Ooh, woosah, woosah, woosah. Because I'm not done. 26-year-old Bernita Rochelle Sparks was found April 16, 1987, shot, tossed in a trash can on Southwestern Avenue over by Gramercy Park. And then there was 26-year-old Mary Catherine Lowe. They found her October 31st, 1987. The killer dumped her right down from where Bernita was dumped at, on Western Avenue, and just like everybody else, she'd been shot too. Then there was 22-year-old Larisha Denise Jefferson. They found her January 30th. She had been communing with the ancestor for a few days before they ran across her body on West 102nd Avenue. They know who she was. I know who she is now, but at the time, they had no clue who Larisha was. Just like 28-year-old Inez Elizabeth Warren, found shot, dead down on August 15, 1988. Still keeping 1908 Kilation season open, 18-year-old Alicia Monique Alexander was found September 11th, 1988 on Western and 43rd Place. Now, goddamn, Nay, this nigga's a killing machine, ain't he? He is indeed. And these are just the ones that they found. How many more did they miss or just not give a fuck about? But oh, baby, a change gon' come. Because on November 20th, 1988, 30-year-old Anitria Washington was getting ready to go to a party. Miss Ma'am was finna get ready to go throw that ass in a circle, honey. And as she was walking to her friend's house, a dude pull up on her in a Pinto. Dude trying to spit a little game or whatever, but Anitra just really trying to get her party on. She said the dude look a little nerdy, like he work at Circuit City or something. He the khakis and polo type, right? Well, the dude offered to give her a ride to her friend's house, and Anitria said, okay, and she get in the car. Dude tells her that he need to make a real quick pit stop and then they'll be on their way. And Nitria was like, fine, do what you gotta do. So they make the stop. She says that it's over by Western and 81st. Dude get out the car. He gone by 2 or 3 minutes and then he get back in the car and they pull off. Anitria is really not paying attention to the dude, right? But then she kept him saying something like bitch and she whipped around to look at this motherfucker and cuss his ass out when all of a sudden she feel pressure in her chest. Dude saying something now like, bitch, I'll shoot you again. And Anitra look, and she like, wait a minute, what? She looked down and see a whole hole in her chest that was not there before, and all this blood. All she can think is, this nigga shot me. And then she passes out. When she comes to, why this nigga on top of her and he got a Polaroid camera just taking pictures of her. Now this is a sick motherfucker. And then he rapes her right there in the car with a bullet in her chest. And when he get done, he pull off, he lean across her, open the door, and throw her ass out his car and just roll on, leaving her in the middle of the street for dead. But baby, she was not. Honey, let me tell you about the strength of a black woman. Do you know this woman got up and walked damn near a mile to her friend's house, the one that she was going to go party with? Yeah, her. She walked to her house with a hole in her chest, a bullet in her body, leaving a trail of blood a goddamn mile long. She get to her friend's house and just fall out on the porch. And as soon as she fall out, the friend pull up. They get Anitra in the car and to the hospital. Honey, them doctors worked on her for hours. And when the sun rose, Anitra was still in the land of the living. They don't know how she survived, because Sister Girl was on a quarter tank of gas. All her blood was on the pavement. And yet and still, Sister Girl is alive and talking to the police. She gives them a good-ass description of the dude. They make a composite sketch. She tell them what kind of car he was driving, an orange Pinto. And she tells them that they made a pit stop on 81st and Western. Okay, Sound like the police can go get this motherfucker, right? Wrong. They don't do nothing with the sketch. They don't put it out for nobody. And guess who got a pinto that live on Western? Lonnie. Did they investigate? They couldn't have, 'cause Lonnie was never questioned. They don't tell the community that there is a serial killer on the loose. There is not one article written about the scores of women that are dying in South Central LA. Nobody gives a fuck. Now, the one thing that did come from Anitra's attack is that it was picked up by the news cycle. But what it was a woman survives an attack miraculously. They don't attribute her attack to a serial killer at all. Anitra was fucked up by a random act of violence and she miraculously survived. That was the story. And then, right after Anitra is in the news for surviving an attack on her life by a random act of violence, the killer goes silent. hmm And for the next 14 years, this nigga seemed to disappear like a fart in the wind. But I guess when one of your victims don't die, that's enough to scare a nigga a little bit. It could, but I don't think that nigga scared that easy. I think he just got better at hiding his shit. I mean, think about it. This nigga is the trash man. He know every inch of the city. He know all the good places to stick something where people won't look. He know all the garbage cans and all the routes of the trash trucks. He know who gonna look and who don't give two shits about what's in them trash cans. He know what landfills are good dumping grounds, right? I think he just went way, way, way underground. I don't think he stopped. But anyway, their story is he went underground for the next 14 years. He just stopped killing. Let's say he went into hibernation. Now, Lonnie's ass is still working for the sanitation department at this time, right? And in 1992, he hurt his arm or some shit, and then he go out on disability. So now this nigga can really kick it in the hood. And he getting that check on time, before time, every month. He's still the nigga in the hood that fix cars. And again, his wife ain't there, right? It's just Lonnie and his son Christopher at the house. Now, Lonnie, he got a little camper in the back where he entertained company, right? He would hang out with his homies on the block, and they did the shit that hood homies do. Sit around, talk shit, drink, and look at them goddamn pictures because they were still taking pictures of the women that they were dealing with. Now, in November of 2001, the LAPD did what law enforcement does every few years. They started an elite unit known as the Cold Case Detectives. This particular task force was called the 800 Task Force. And over the next 6 to 7 years, they fed the DNA machine, and what do you know? They hit on 10 cases of murdered women with DNA from the same perpetrator. These women were all shot. Guess what? The ballistics showed that they were all shot with the same gun. But they knew that in the 80s. They just didn't give a fuck to go find the gun. They were waiting on the gun to walk in and turn itself in to the police. Oh, lazy motherfuckers. Again, I don't think he stopped killing, but maybe he started giving less of a fuck and stopped hiding them so good. And why do I think that? Well, in 2002, this nigga decided to crank that thing back up. Only this time, he switched up his MO. Instead of shooting a bitch, he was strangling the life out of her, starting with 15-year-old Princess Bartholomew. Now, Princess had a hard life. She was a victim to one of California's worst child abuse cases, right? She was a ward of the state, and when I tell you life was lifing hard in this young lady's life, it was fucking her up with the uppercuts and the 1-2 and a biscuit. Oh man, honey. And then she ran across Lonnie. And her hard life was ended because he strangled her to death. She was found March 19th, 2002, naked in some bushes in a random alley in Inglewood. Now understand, I told y'all Lonnie been the neighborhood mechanic and the local plug for whatever the hood needed. You know that dude. You need a TV? He got you. You need your alternator fixed? Go see Lonnie. You need a car to disappear? Lonnie knows somebody who can make that shit happen. I mean, he kept the crackheads in the hood in business by doing all kind of jobs for him. And because they were on that shit, they wasn't really paying no attention too close to what Lonnie was having them to do. As long as he had some cash or some smoke, whatever the job was, they did that shit and they kept it moving. Well, Lonnie got popped a couple of times throughout the years for possession of some shit that belonged to somebody else. And one of the times he got popped for receiving stolen property was in 2003. And the nigga was facing like a 3-year bid. But he cut a deal and he ended up doing like 4 months. They let him out in May of 2003. Well, shortly thereafter, not too long after Lonnie was back on the block, 35-year-old Valerie McCorvey was found with her life squeezed out of her on July 11, 2003 in the Westmont area. A crossing guard on her way to work to make sure that the children could cross the street safely came across Valerie's body. That's a hell of a way to start your day, boy. Good God. Then there was 25-year-old Janicia Peters, and she was a throwback. You see, you remember, Lonnie liked to shoot a bitch, and all that squeezing was apparently not doing it for him. So Janicia was shot and then put in a garbage bag in a trash can. And if it hadn't been for somebody dumpster diving, she might not have been found on January 1st, 2007. Now, I'm going to give credit when credit is due, slightly. The LAPD of the 2000s, they were not the same as the LAPD of the 1980s, and Princess's murder was being investigated. Valerie's murder was being investigated. Janicia's murder was being investigated. But with Janicia, that bullet opened up the floodgates to some more murders that was tied to that gun. They got DNA, and it showed that it's all the same man using the same gun. But here's the thing. His DNA ain't in the system. But now they want to let the public know that there was a serial killer that's been traced back to the 1980s, and he just recently crunked that thing back up. Talk about a day late and a dollar short. But I guess they felt better late than never. I'm going to say this. The wheels of justice got a flat tire, and they rolling slowly, but I guess they are rolling. But it would be another 3 years before everything fell into place. You see, in July of 2010, they finally figured out who the fuck was doing all this killing. 3 little letters. DNA. But it wouldn't be in the traditional way that you think. You see, they didn't have Lonnie's DNA. What they had was his son's DNA. Oh, yes. Christopher Franklin had gotten into some shit. And in Cali, you get into some shit, into a tube, you spit. And that DNA goes into the database. Well, in 2010, they were using the DNA that they had in that database to search for familiar DNA, right? Let me run your DNA and see about the people in your family. And when they ran Chris's DNA through, the shit popped. Wait, this nigga DNA is real close to our killer's DNA. But wait a minute, Chris would have been a child in the 80s when the murders were happening. What men in his life could have been the perpetrator? Oh, his daddy, Lonnie. Wait a minute, this nigga fit the profile. And he matched all the evidence that we've been had for umpteen years. He used to have a van with that tag number back in the day. He used to have a Pinto just like the one Aretha said the dude fucked her up in. And oh yeah, she said he took her to a house on Western and 81st. That's where Lonnie been living all his life. Well, I be damned. How did we miss that? 'Cause y'all slow, trifling, all of those things at once. But at this point, they don't waste no time putting this nigga Lonnie under surveillance. Every move he make, somebody is looking. And they see him hollering at the ladies and they so worried that he about to do his thing, but he don't. So they need this nigga DNA quickly to prove that he is the one so they can go and remove him from the streets. So what do? They followed Lonnie one night when he went out for pizza on July the 5th, 2010 at John's Incredible Pizza. The police had one of their own pose as a waiter, and when Lonnie and them got through, he went and started clearing off the table, grabbed up Lonnie's pizza crust, his glass, and the napkins that he used to wipe his mouth, took all that shit straight to the lab. And 3 days later, Mari handed them the envelope and said, Lonnie, you are the murdering murderer that's been murdering all these women since 1985. And they arrested Lonnie's ass on July 7th, 2010. Now it's time to go search his house. Baby, they had to pull up in that thing deep because there was so much shit in Lonnie's house, in the garage, in the camper. And I'm talking all mannerisms of lingerie. Yes, I know how to say the word lingerie, but he had all kind of lingerie up in that house. And all of it had to be photographed and cataloged. Like legit, this nigga had panties and bras and camisoles every fucking well. They were stuck in every corner and crevice that you could see. Like you open this toolbox, nuts and bolts and screwdrivers and some lace panties. You pop the glove compartment, there goes something, and some more panties. Like this nigga was a whole ass perv. Like, ugh, yuck. They also found 10 guns, and of those 10 guns, one of them is a little 25. Well, they end up charging Lonnie with 10 murders, and these are the ones that they could link to him either by DNA or by the ballistics for that 25. But real talk, y'all know it's so many more out there. The police found pictures of more than 1,000 women at Lonnie's den of death. They found hours and hours of videotapes of his home movies. And while they hadn't given half a fuck for the last 3 decades, now they want to know where these women are. And they released 180 photos from Lonnie's private collection, asking the public for their help in determining if these women were still among the land of the living. And of that 180, only 53 were marked present. 147 were absent. And this is only a fraction of the pictures that they have that they released. What about the rest of the women? I know just having pictures of a chick is not a crime. But I also know that back in the day, it was common to have photo albums full of pictures. And some of those pictures look just like that. Just regular, degular chicks posing for the camera, having a good time. But a whole lot more, not so much. A lot of them women look like they were asleep. Was it a nap or was it an eternal rest kind of thing? I mean, some of these women looked like they were scared. And then they found a picture of Aretha just like she had described. Remember when she came to and the nigga was on top of her taking Polaroid pictures of her? Here go the goddamn picture she was talking about. She laid against the door with a bullet hole in her chest, bleeding out. How you get this picture, Lonnie? Lonnie didn't have no answers for nothing. He finally went to trial February 16th, 2016, when he was 63 years old, more than 30 years after his first killation. And this trial lasted for 3 months. The prosecution called 60 witnesses to the stand, and they had evidence on evidence on evidence against Lonnie. But what hit the hardest was that goddamn Polaroid of Anitria in his garage of her shot up in his car. And on May 5th, 2016, the jury convicted Lonnie Franklin Jr. on all counts. Yeah, nigga, you guilty. Few months later, August 11th, 2016, at the sentencing hearing, all of the victims' family had their chance to say what the fuck they wanted to his punk ass. And check this out. 2 surviving victims, Laura and Enitria, they had the chance to look this motherfucker in his eyes and tell him what a piece of shit he was. Baby, they even flew in the woman that he raped in Germany so that she too could get something off her chest. Honey, and he sat there and took it off. His punk ass didn't bat an eyelash, didn't even seem like he cared. And then they formally sentenced that ass to die 10 motherfucking times. Try that Lazarus shit if you want to. Every time you come back, we're going to be waiting to send you back to the lower room. Because, nigga, you know you ain't going nowhere near the pearly gates. To the depths of hell you go, fuck ass nigga. Lucifer is waiting. So they ship his ass off to San Quentin prison to wait for that long kiss goodnight. It would come, just not the way that he deserved. Before the state could turn his water off, the law decided time's up, nigga. Time to pay the piper. This nigga was 3 years into his bid when his old ass kicked the bucket. They found him dead in his cell March 28th, 2020 at 67 years old. In that, Noir Nation is the story of Lonnie David Franklin, a.k.a. the Grim Sleeper that killed the strawberries. Just yuck. This story had me cussing so much about so many different things, from the police not telling the community that there was a serial killer on the loose in the neighborhood, to them not even telling the families of the victims that their loved ones had been killed by a serial killer, to them fumbling the bag when they had the tip from the public giving them the color of the van and the license plate on the van that had just dropped a body in the alley. I mean, My disgust for the LAPD of the 80s and the 99 and 2000s is at an all-time high. And I don't know why. We've seen the way the LAPD has been depicted in song and film and television. Them motherfuckers was diabolical. They were the real ruthless records. The disdain for the people that smoke crack was a mess. They didn't give a fat rat's ass if they died. They were more like good riddance. They saw no humanity in these victims, and that's a goddamn shame. But I also have a couple of fuck yous for some other people. Some of the people of Lonnie's family were some real dumbass, ignorant ass, trifling ass motherfuckers. When it came out that the police had used his son Christopher Franklin's DNA to get Lonnie, do you know there were people that were going in on Christopher, calling him a snitch? Family that stopped fucking with him because he turned in his daddy. What in the name of negatiousness is this? Christopher didn't have no say in what the state of California did with his DNA. Once he committed his crime, his shit was automatically entered into the DNA database. He ain't had now say in whether or not he wanted to be swabbed. He couldn't opt out of it being used to look for familiar DNA. So how the fuck can people fix their mouth to say that he a snitch? I swear, just when I think I've run across the dumbest shit, something invariably comes along and tops it. And to this day, they still ain't fucking with him. That's all right though, Chris. Fuck him. But at the same time, I'm side-eyeing your ass too, because you lived in the house with your daddy, and I don't believe you ain't seen or heard nothing. He was fucking them up right outside in the backyard. In that camper, you seen something, you heard something, and you didn't say a word. So while I can call out the fucked upness of people calling you a snitch because it was your DNA that got your sadistic bastard ass daddy off the street, I can also call your ass out for turning a blind eye for what was going on in your home. The last thing I want to say is that while we have gotten through the crack era, scarred, bruised, and worked over, there is still an issue of the women that have an addiction of any kind. They're the most vulnerable to serial attacks. Like, something has got to be done about this. They are not safe. Like, legit, they need a union. Now, they won't be negotiating the price of pussy or securing better working conditions or anything like that, like a traditional union. But maybe it could be some type of a network that ensures that they are still among the land of the living. Like a weekly check in or something, some number that they can call or go online and mark themselves as present. I'm still here. I'm still alive. I know it sounds crazy as fuck, right? But what else can we do? Somewhere right now, all over this country, there are serial killers out here just serial hunting and serial murdering and serial raping. And the police don't know about it or they ain't told us about it. And the people who are going to bear the brunt of this bullshit are the people that are estranged from their families for whatever reason. And they are now living some type of a street life. There needs to be a place, an organization for people who ain't got nobody. These women died horrifically. And for the longest time, they didn't even have their name attributed to their body. Like, we can put a bitch in a tin can and strap an Acme rocket to their ass and send them to outer space, but we can't figure out who the fuck Jane Doe is? We got to do better. I know we can do better. Okay. All right. I'm going to put my soapbox up. Now it's your turn. Time for you to get active. Head over there to the socials and tell me what's on your mind. Y'all know what it is. It's the Melanin Mayhem Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And I'm Melanin Mayhem PC on X. And if you have not done so already, go ahead and join that discussion group on Facebook. You can look for it. It is the Melanin Mayhem Podcast discussion group, different from the social media page. And if you also feel like being a little chatty with me, you can drop me a line over at melaninmayhempodcast@gmail.com. This week, I am shouting out our Noir Nation spotlight to Neat Allen, who said, "Your storytelling is unmatched. I went from shock to anger. This audacious ass dude's crimes had me laughing at how you phrase things. I look forward to your new episodes every Wednesday. Keep them coming, sis. I'm a fan." Well, thank you, Neat Allen. And if you keep listening, I'm going to keep them coming, honey. So y'all know I got to get in the lab and whip this thing into shape. My voice is a little better and it won't be so much editing to get all the wheezing and heavy breathing out. I think we're getting better. What y'all think? Either way, it's time for me to hook this thing up. So before I go, you know how I like to do it. I need y'all to stay safe I need y'all to stay vigilant. And remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. It's one love, Noir Nation, and the country girl. Love you so much, and I'm out of here.